Okay, so today we're gonna have a run through of DocuSign. It's been a while since I've done a kind of complete from beginning to end combined with best practices. And as you all know, as we transition through Dotloop to DocuSign, some of you that are on the call have been always been on DocuSign, but then there's others that are transitioning over to DocuSign. So I wanted to take advantage of this to do a full recap on everything from setup to starting a contract to best practices and everything in between. And then I'll save some time. I'm going to run through this fairly quickly, but I'll save some time at the end just for you all to ask questions and things like that. So to start, first and foremost, we need to make sure that your DocuSign is connected. So to do that, you're going to come to your settings in your command account, and you should see on the very top line here, DocuSign. It'll say the beginning of your email address, and then over here it'll say disconnect account. If you are not connected currently, then I want you to reach out to me and I will send you a video on how to get connected. And if you have any trouble, of course, I'll walk you through that and I can log in with you and figure that out. But this is the first step. Make sure that your DocuSign is connected underneath your settings. Once that is done, then let me go find my contact again. I want you to keep in mind that for the whole system to work its best, we always need to start in the contact. So that means that you'll go through and actually create the contact if you haven't already. Have the name and email address. Obviously, we want the 5 points of contact as always, but at a very minimum, we need name and email address in order to make this work. So once the contact is created, you're going to come over here to opportunities. By the way, you can see I've ran a bunch of these tests and videos before, so I have tons of opportunities. Just wanted to note really quickly that this is also where you can access any previous opportunities that a client might have done. So if it was like this and they bought multiple, you can go back and see every transaction the client did, which is a pretty nice feature. But what we're going to do is start from here. Again, I'm going to click opportunities up here at the top. And then I'm going to come over here to create opportunity, and I'm going to click the create opportunity button. And then from there, there's some information that we need to put in. If you're on a team and you happen to be doing this, you will select the team option there. But then we're going to come into opportunity, and what are we doing? Are we doing a buyer or a seller? In this case, I'm going to do a listing because I believe last time I did a buyer. Obviously, your name will be here as the owner, and then the client's name will be here. And this is best practices is just to have this set up as how they'll actually sign the documents. You can change that later on, no worries. But meaning like if their full name is Matthew, then to put Matthew here. Also under opportunity name, especially if you're doing a listing, add a dash and put in the address. This just helps you later on when you're searching for the opportunity through the opportunities tab. It just makes life so much easier because then you can just search by the address. You don't necessarily have to search by just the name. And then from there's a couple more things. Obviously, you can fill out as much of this as possible if there's a co-seller, anything along those lines. But the things that you have to put in is the commission rate. So what is your expected side of this deal? Now, keep in mind, if we were to list, and I'm not going to use any numbers just because we post this on YouTube, but if you were to use X% is the total commission, and of that, half is going to you for being the listing agent, and the seller is offering half for compensation to a buyer's agent. You only put your half in here. So again, just kind of making up a crazy number here just because we're posting this. I'm putting in 39. Obviously, that's not going to be a real commission rate. So just want to clarify that for the video. And then we're going to put in where's the opportunity phase. This just has to do with the opportunity tab over here to the side. I've done a video on this before. I'll do more in the future. For now, you can leave it there. Or if you know where you want them, like what phase you're in, cultivate, appointment, or active. And then inside of that, which phase are they inside of there? Again, see the other video for more detail on that. Then we're just going to hit create. Once we hit create, you can see that will go in at the top. So you can see I have today's date. This is the most recent one I did. And then you're just going to click this line that says Matt Brown listing 123. That's going to open up the actual opportunity folder inside of Command. Next step from here, just one quick step before we get into the documents. If it is a listing and you know the address, or even if it's a buy side and you know the address, come to the property, click this little pencil and plug in the address here. It'll make everything just work that much more smoothly. I'm just going to select a random address and hit save. But you'll want to put in the actual address there as well. From there, we're completely set up and ready to go and start with getting the documents set up and ready for signature. So we're going to come over here to documents. Then we're going to come over to checklist type. You do have to do this part first. So we're going to pick checklist, and in this case, we're going to be doing a Kentucky residential. Of course, you can pick anything that applies inside of here, whether you're doing a referral, Indiana, or Kentucky new construction, just because what that does is selects what documents are required. So you can see here, if I do new construction, then you can see the seller disclosures are no longer required because seller disclosures aren't required for a new construction in the state of Kentucky. But we'll stick with Kentucky residential for now. Okay, so here's all of the documents that we need. You can see here's the listed documents that are required, what's conditional and what's optional. You also have under contract documents for once you put your listing under contract, and then closed documents where you can put the commission check, settlement statement, so on and so forth. Okay. But for right now, we're working on a listing document. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click Start Transaction over here in the right-hand side. When I click that, that's going to automatically take me to DocuSign, and it actually creates the room for me. So you can see here's why we changed the name, because again, everything works together between Command and DocuSign. You can see we now have who the client is it a buyer or seller, and what the address is. Just to show you, normally you would just start into documents, but just to show you why this is important, when you go back to your dashboard and you got lots of deals going, right? Because we know 2025 is going to be a great year for all of you. We're going to come in here and you can see you have all of your rooms in here. Let me click on rooms. And you can see all of these potential rooms, right? It just makes it so much easier because if you know the address, I can do a search right here and do 123 Main, and you can see it pulls, now obviously this is just for training purposes, all the different ones that have that address. So you can search by name, you search by address. That's why we want to title it the way that we did. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into the one that we did today. And the first thing that we need to do is come over to the Documents tab, and we need to put in whatever documents we need signed. So I'm going to come up to the blue button at the top here, and I'm going to click Add. Then I'm going to come down, and if you have the forms on your computer, you can upload them. 99% of the time, you're going to be using the DocuSign forms because they're pre-templated, which means you can fill them out without having to manually add the fields. If you upload a document off your computer, you're going to have to actually add in every field that you ultimately need. So I'm going to click DocuSign Forms. Then inside of here, there are some different packets. Depending on which office you're at, you can see different things. I'm just going to come to the Elite Listing Packet for now, just for simplicity, but you can, of course, choose yours. Or you can come and look through the various folders and get the documents you need. So I would start with KW1031KY. This will give you all the various documents we have here. Here's all the KREC documents, all the HCAR documents, all the GOR documents, all the GLAR documents, so on and so forth. Okay. But again, you can kind of just use your Elite or Heartland listing package as needed. So then we're going to select which documents do we need signed. So I know for sure that I need a guide to agency. I need an agency consent form. I'm also going to need the listing agreement. I'm going to need the seller disclosures. I'm going to need the utility request form. Let's just say this was built after 1979. So for simplicity, we don't need the lead-based paint or the pamphlet that goes along with it. So these will be the documents I need. Now, if you've watched any of my previous videos, you know you can set up templates where some of the document is pre-filled for you. And you can go back and reference a previous video for that. For now, I'm just going to keep it really simple. And we're going to go to Add Selected. That puts all of our documents in the room. So you can see here, you have a folder called Room Documents. One of the things that I'm going to encourage you to do just to kind of help with organization is to come up here to Actions and add a folder. And I want you to call this Listing Docs. You're going to create that folder. And then because we know we're going to sell the listing, we're going to go ahead and create one more folder and we're going to put Under Contract Docs. You can call it Pending Documents, anything that you want, just to remind you what it is. Because you'll see now we have these various folders that we can actually organize our documents inside of. I'm going to come back to that here in a second once we get some signed documents. So next thing I'm going to do is I need to set these documents up for e-signature. So I can either hit select all and it selects everything inside of there, or I can select just the documents that I need. So I'm going to select all of these documents, and then I'm going to come to the top, and you see you have buttons here. This one is to move it if you wanted to move these documents between folders. This is if you wanted to email just blank documents, maybe to yourself or something like that. If you wanted to print them, if you wanted to combine them together into one document, that is an option. You can also come to envelopes, you can archive them, and you can delete them. From an archive, that means they just hide them from your view. It's not actually deleted out of the room. You can actually click up here to this button and select archive documents, and you would see everything that's archived. The deleted button means it deletes it completely away. It no longer exists. It's not part of this room, and you would lose any data that's inside of that, and you cannot recover these. So just know, most of the time you're going to be archiving. Every once in a while you will delete, but most of the time you're just archiving. Okay, so once we've selected all of them, then if we're going to set our documents up for signature, the next thing we're going to do is come here to create an envelope. Okay. When we create an envelope, it's going to say, well, who do you need to sign this? Because it pre-fills some of the things. Well, I need to sign it as the listing agent. I also need my seller 1 and seller 2 to sign it. And then we're going to hit continue from there. It'll take it a second from this point, because what it's doing is actually putting in all the signature boxes, all the initial boxes, all the dates, all the time boxes, everything that needs to be formatted in terms of the signature. It automatically does that for you, so you don't have to kind of pre-put those things in. So that's why it takes just a second. Once you reach this screen, here you can rearrange the documents if you want. So you can just drag and drop if you have a certain order that you like to get stuff filled out in. You can see I'm just moving things around, get it in the order that I want. I can also add additional files if I need to. Then I'm going to come down to add recipients. And inside of here, you can see this box that says set signing order. If it doesn't matter the order that people sign, uncheck that box. That means everybody can go in and sign it at instantly as soon as you send this. If it does matter the order that's signed, so for example, me as the listing agent, I want to sign it first. Then after I sign, I want it to go out to seller 1 and 2. Then I need to put the number in the order that I want in this box. So you can see I'm 1. Seller 1, who's also going to be me, is going to be 2. And then seller 2, I'm going to change this to a 2 as well. So that means once I sign, both seller 1 and seller 2 get this at the same time and have the ability to sign at the same time. So let me plug in myself again, just so I'm signing all these contracts. You always want to make sure the name stays in. Sometimes it does delete out. And you can see inside of here, listing agent, seller 1, seller 2. So I'm going to scroll down. You can add it. By the way, the thing I love about DocuSign over Dotloop, you can add as many people as you need. Like I literally saw, I was talking to, I think it was Matt Aller, and I think he had like 6 or 7 people that needed to sign a document. He was able to do it all through DocuSign. Versus Dotloop, you're kind of limited to 1 or 2 people. Then the next thing we're going to do is change the title here. It always pulls in whatever the first document, the name of the first document is. So you can see here it says KREC. I'm just going to change this to listing agreement. Just basically, this is what's going to show up in the subject box of their email. So this will be, I just wanted to say something. Oops, didn't mean to click that. I wanted to say something that's going to identify what this is. Of course, you can put in a nice message. Please sign these documents, all of that. I'm going to go to next. And here's where we actually start setting up the document. So I'm not going to fill out all of these documents, but I do want to show you a couple things. One, if you don't have the templates pre-filled, you will need to go down and actually fill out all of the blanks and make sure everything is filled out, because we don't leave any blank documents on our contract. So you see anything in gray means you as the agent has the ability to fill it out. If it's in yellow, then that means the buyer, or excuse me, seller in this case, is going to fill it out. So I'm just going to work my way through the document. I'm going to fill everything out. As you can see here, we got 2 signature boxes, and see how they're color coded? The colors align with who's signing what. So this is my seller 1. You can see all his stuff is blue. So for him to sign blue here, his date to sign there. And then seller 2 in this case would be purple me, and you can see purple, all of these colors change to purple as well. And then of course I have the listing agent, and you can see all of those colors. So just keep that in mind. All colors coordinate, which means all the blue is always going to be seller 1. All the purple is always going to be seller 2. And in this case, all the yellow is going to be listing agent. And then we're going to keep working through filling out all the documents. You all know how to fill documents. You attend my contract classes. So I'm going to scroll down to seller disclosures real quick. So once we get to seller disclosures, you can see that it is set up where in this case, seller 1, blue matte brown, fills out all of the documents. Now you could actually change this. It's always going to default where seller 1 fills out the document. So what I would note is whoever's actually going to be the one that fills out the seller disclosures, if you're not doing this in person, make that seller one, it just makes everything so much easier. Now, one other thing to note, you see how this is blue and the blue shaded, and this one has just the blue outline? That means this is a required field. So you can see here, required field box is checked. You can see right here is not a required field. So if you wanted to make this a required field, you'd have to check that box and then it changes to blue. Same thing on these. These are not going to be required fields in the sense of if you check that box, all of them have to be checked. So one thing you'll need to communicate, and I'll tell you, actually, best practices, I send seller disclosures and lead-based paint separate from my listing agreement because I want this to be its individual document that they fill out, because I have to tell them that, hey, I know each line is just optional, but you actually have to fill out each line, right? They can't just do this one and then skip these two, because then the document isn't filled out in its entirety. So just note that normally I would send my listing agreement and everything, get all of that signed, and then I'm sending seller disclosures in its own envelope. That way the person that's filling them out can take their time and make sure they fill everything out correctly. You can do it together. Again, nothing wrong with doing it together as long as you communicate that they need to go through and fill all of these documents out. Okay. So I'm going to keep scrolling down because I want to show you a couple other things real quick. Bear with me. I know that doesn't look good on your eyes. I'm going to get down to the purchase agreement. When we get down to the purchase agreement, inside of here, if it does, just watch this. So it pre-filled this Matt Brown, didn't pre-fill this one. So I needed to add that name in because you're going to want to have both your sellers inside of there. Let's just say, and I know there's one spot in here that you didn't want to, let's just say you accidentally delete something. So I'm deleting these out. All I'm doing is clicking on them and hitting delete. And if there's no box there, you can add in boxes. So in order to add in boxes, you're going to come down, make sure you're on pre-filled tools. You can see here, I'm clicking this little pencil on the far left-hand side. You see how it's gray? That means it's me filling it out as the agent. So I can come in here and drop a text box. I can grab the corner and I can adjust it to whatever size that I want. And then I can come inside of here, just double click, and I can fill out anything that I need to inside of there. It adjusts the size to be able to fit the line. So if you have something, you accidentally delete something out, or you need to add in a line, that's how you do it. You can also add in checkboxes. So again, bear with me. I'm gonna scroll down to the last page. Down here for the MLS, if there's not a checkbox, or let me go down to where they actually, yeah, we'll use this one. So if that's not there, the checkbox or the radio button. So a checkbox is truly that. It's a checkbox. When you check it, you can see it puts in the actual checkbox. When you do the radio button, that's just a button. Either one's acceptable. You can see that it puts in, usually with the radio, it puts in multiple options. But you can click and see how to add that in. I pretty much only use text, checkbox, and radio. You can add in name. It'll put in name, company. You can draw a line. So if you need to cross through something, you can see I just clicked where I wanted to start the cross through and then cross through that. So if you're doing what's called an above the line change, which is where you're eliminating part of the contract, that's how you would do it. You can see it puts the line on there. Then I would come back and come to my clients and put a initial next to each of these. By the way, the initial boxes are always really big. You can grab those, drag them down, make them as big or as small as you want. So I'd put this in with a date signed. Date sign you cannot change the size of, by the way. And then I would come to the second seller and then do the same thing. I also need an initial here because anytime we do an above the line contract change, they need to initial, the clients need to initial next to it to be able to say, yes, this change was made prior to me signing the document, basically. So you work your way through, fill out all the documents how you need, make sure all of your signatures and everything are set up. Again, just a little footnote, when you look at the initials or the signatures, the times, so see this time, it is not a required field. I would go through and click these and make them required fields so that way your clients have to put in, so they'll click here to sign, click here to put the date in, click here to put that in. And now I'm just double checking to make sure I have everything there. And then all we got to do from this point is hit send. So now this is actually sending out to the clients. Now keep in mind that I set this up where the listing agent has to sign first. So once it's sent, we'll give it just a second, let it refresh. You can see here it's waiting on others. Now before I go in and sign and show you that part of it, when you click on the waiting on others, it'll tell you what has happened. So you can see here, it currently is waiting on listing agent Matt Brown to sign. And then waiting means that they have not yet received it on their end. and then you can receive those. Sarah, the YouTube page is search just in YouTube, Keller Williams Elite and Heartland, and that'll pull up for you. And then so you'll come in, you just to check the status, see who signed and see who has not signed so far. And then I'm going to come to my inbox. By the way, this is what the email looks like. You can see here, completed with DocuSign listing agreement. Matt Brown sent you a document to sign. So we're going to click here. Now this is what your client will see, or you as the listing agent, I guess in this case. You're going to click review documents. It's going to pull up and it'll show the pre-filled forms. So I'm going to click continue that says to review the documents. Then they can scroll down, read everything they need to read, or if they click the start button, it jumps straight to where the first signature is. Now, they obviously need to read the documents and things like that first. So I would click through here. I'm going to go ahead and just sign the spots that I put random things in. Again, you can see that I made time optional. Now, I will say this, the date puts the time in automatically, but if you want them to, they can fill out the date as well. So 10/23, 12/23, and then hit finish. Now, once I've hit finish on that, I want to show you a couple quick things, and then we're almost done. It's going to ask you to log in. They do not need to. They can just click no thanks, and that goes away. So now that I've signed, if I refresh this page, in my envelope, you can see I got a check mark and it says that I've signed, which means it has now sent to current. Remember, this said waiting before to current, so it's currently waiting on seller 1 and seller 2. And now, since I've done that, I have 2 new emails here that are asking me to sign. So if this is seller 2 was the one I just clicked on. Again, click continue, start, and now all of a sudden it's having me go through and sign everything, everywhere that I need to sign. So on and so forth. And I'm going to go ahead and finish this one out for you just so I can show you what that looks like. 1 second here, let me click through these. Oh, I got required fields. There we go. Okay, so now that I've done that one, I'm going to go ahead and sign the other one real quick. Just because I want to show you all what finished documents look like. Oh, it's going to make me put in some required fields. All right, let me go through this as fast as I can. So you can see here, if I don't change those boxes and don't explain to the client that they need to sign everything in the seller disclosures, then you can see how they're only filling out what's required. It lets them skip by other things. And obviously you wouldn't have all the signatures here. I didn't fully set this one up, just for a side note. So I'm gonna go ahead and click in here, a couple more. Finish. Okay, so now that I've completely gone through and signed from both sides, let's wait for this to quit spinning so it accepts it. And again, do not need to log in. Now I'm going to come to my envelope, and now that I've done that, if I refresh my page and re-review my envelope, then you can see we have seller 2 has signed everything. So once that's done, then we're going to come back and I'm going to go into a room to be able to show you this. So you can see here's my completed. Again, everybody signed. We're good to go. Come back to my documents, and I'm going to go to a different room because it's not going to let me sign for both people. 1 second here. Okay. So when you come into a different room, you can see here's what it'll ultimately look like. So you can see it changed from a blue PDF that just said blue PDF. Blue means it's a DocuSign form. Red means it's just a PDF that you uploaded. Green means that it's signed. Now, if you remember, we added in other folders. So I'm going to add a folder real quick. Now, what I want you to do just to keep your thing organized is you can drag and drop these up to the listing. So if this was the actual listing agreement, and then these are the ones that I used to actually complete. So this is the actual form in this case of what I was getting signed. This is a certificate that proves that they actually signed it themselves. You can actually archive these two things, and you'll want to do this because all we really need to keep at this point is the actual signed one, because next time we go to upload a document, it's always going to drop into the room docs. And if it drops into the room docs, if you don't have some way of organizing it over the course of the entire transaction, you would end up with 50 documents in the room docs. And instead, you can move it up to listing or move it up to under contract, what I showed you at the beginning, just to have it organized and set up and ready to go so that it's easier to be able to find documents. But that's really how you operate inside of DocuSign. Now, a couple of best practices. First, the first question I get asked a lot is, how do I go in and set up for to fill out a document, print it out, and take it with me? And this is the one workaround that I found inside the system that works best. And what you would actually do in this case, so you can see here's all our signed documents that I just went through. So this is, well, before I come to that, in terms of organizing the folder, see how chaotic this looks? We have our forms, we have our signed, we have things like that. That's why you want to organize these folders. So I would come in and check all my signed documents. Check them here. I'm going to click move, and then I'm going to select a destination in the room under the listing documents folder and move those. So you can see now I have all my signed documents underneath the listing folder. All of this is all stuff that I don't need, so I would check this and archive it. Just kind of wanted to hit that home because it does become chaotic if you don't do those parts. And again, you can see now it's nice and clean, but if I some reason need to see those archived documents, I can come to this box on active documents and click archive, and you can see there's all those documents. So you don't actually lose them. So click back to active. Okay, so one of the things that you can do is if you wanted to pre-fill a document and then send it out, you're going to click add and DocuSign forms. And then you're going to pull in whatever form you want. I'm just going to select a random one. And what you would do in this case is set it up in an envelope. Same process that you would go through if you were having somebody sign it electronically, and set up who needs to sign. I'm just going to click a random one here just to show you this. We might go over a couple minutes, by the way. Wait for that to load. Now, for this, I'm going to set it up where I'm the signer. All right, so you can see I'm going to have my contact inside of here. I'm going to click next. I'm going to fill it out however I need it filled out. Set up signature. I don't even need the signature, so I'm just going to delete those out. But I'm going to go ahead and pre-fill everything I need, all of these boxes. Oops. And then I'm going to hit send. The reason that I do that, I'm going to put send without fields. The reason that I do that is when I've hit the sent now, I'm going to get a new email. Here it is. I can review the document. And you can see, I'm going to hit continue. You can see it has it filled out without the signatures. Now from here, I can come to other actions. I can hit print and sign. It's going to ask you, how do you want to do it? Just hit upload and continue, and then hit download. Now this will download that form that you pre-filled onto your desktop. So you can see right here is that form. And you can see it's filled out with everything that I put in there previously. So this is the best way to pre-fill and download if you are going for an in-person signature there. Okay. One other thing that I wanted to show you real quick, and then I'll ask for questions and then we'll wrap up, is once you're in your opportunity, we have to submit our documents for compliance. One of the reasons you want to do everything in the order that I said is because to upload your documents is really easy at this point. You're just going to come into, make sure this says DocuSign. Which folder do you need to work out of? Now remember, we moved, actually I need to refresh my page. Hold on one second. Yep, there we go. So you remember we're DocuSign, we're in Room Docs. I'm going to come down to Listing Documents because remember I've moved everything into my Listing Documents folder. Click there, and then from there I can download, and everything just automatically drops into my command. So I'm just matching the title of my document. So you see Listing Agreement, matching it with Listing Agreement. Seller Disclosures. anything else, lead-based paint, didn't need any of that stuff. And then I can hit this blue button, submit to Market Center, and my compliance is taken care of. This is why you want to start inside the contact and then create the room from the contact, because if not, you have to manually download those documents and then upload them later on. So that's DocuSign in a nutshell. Just make sure that you want to cover a couple of things, cover the general overall flow, and then I guess I'll just open it up and see, does anybody have any specific questions that maybe I could cover before we jump into contracts class? Again, so I'll show you this. If you go to YouTube and we'll have a copy of this up soon. But if you want to find any of our recordings, just come to YouTube and just do a search for KW Elite Heartland. And we will be one of the first ones. This is the emblem that you're looking for. This is our actual channel. That's obviously a video that we did. And inside of there, once you're on the YouTube page, click videos, and all of our trainings that we've ever done and recorded are inside of here, and really great reminders on how to do everything. So if there are no questions, we'll wrap up this, and I'll stop this Zoom, and then please hop back in if you're going to attend contracts class. Nikki, do you have a question?
No, I just want to say thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, I'll see y'all in contracts.
Okay.
See ya.